Alors, membres de la presse britannique.
Hello, members of the British press.
Je suis ravi d'être
I am
ici
delighted to be here in your country. I will be happy to answer any questions now.
Mr. President, I'll put it to you that you're not Nicolas Sarkozy, but are in fact former F1 racing driver Jean Lacey in a suit.
Mais c'est ridicule.
This is ridiculous.
La première fois qu'elle a entendu
I've heard
parler
people
de ça.
claiming this before,
J'admets que j'ai un vague
and whilst I admit I do look a little like the person you mention,
devrais insister sur le point qu'elle sur
I must emphasize that I am not Jean Lacey.
Le question suivant.
Next question.
Monsieur President, do you regret leaving Ferrari at the end of 1995, thus missing the chance to beat Michael Schumacher to the World Championship once, possibly even twice?
Oui,
Yes,
je n'ai jamais dû joindre les
I really should never have gone to stupid Benetton
avec mon copain Gerhard Berger.
with my mate Gerhard Berger.
Oh, merde.
Oh, super augury.
They had effects on board as well, so you could do everything.
Welcome to Gareth Jones on Speed as we discuss the merits of the Fairlight. You didn't know we'd started, did you?
We're geeking out.
But we really should talk about the motor industry first. With me, as ever, Richard Porter and Zog. Good news for Land Rover or bad news for Land Rover and Jaguar?
I think it's probably good news. I'm quietly optimistic about this. The CEO of Jaguar Land Rover is a guy called Jeff Pilates, I never know how to pronounce his name. Pilates, that's right.
He's the guy who's always doing the physical jerks.
Right, his knees back really far, down-facing dog. And, which is, I think
yoga.
it's a Pilates. Is that yoga?
That's yoga.
Where are we going now? Sorry, I've distracted us already.
I don't know how I know that,
A
but I
minute in and we're already talking more rubbish. Yes, anyway, the boss of Jaguar Land Rover is apparently, I've spoken to people who've worked for him, a brilliant boss. He's a great manager of people. He's an inspiring boss. He knows what works, and you can see it in the stuff that Jaguar and Land Rover have been making. You know, that XF's a corking car. The XK is a great car. He's realised that, you know, it's all about beauty and power and being modern for a change. So that's Jaguar sorted. Land Rover never really lost their way, and they've turned out some good stuff. You know, whatever you think about the SUV boom, they are making cars that people want to buy. More power to their elbow. And there's clever things, putting the Freelander into Halewood so that factory is now running at full chat, and it doesn't matter if they don't sell any X-Types, because they could make one a month as long as the line's running, making Freelanders. Jobs are good, and the crucial thing is, it all seems to be working out, and Tata's explicit aim is not to mess with that.
I mean, I think the main thing is that you know, I mean, you've got a lot more detailed insight into this than me, certainly, but it seems to me that as long as the companies are getting a new owner that believes in them and is prepared to back them with money and, you know, not interfere in a clueless way, which I get the impression is Tata's intention. They're you know, reasonably hands off. It's a good thing.
Well, if you look at the way that the previous owners of Land Rover certainly went wrong, it was always British Aerospace didn't give them any money. And so the model development was reliant on Honda, and the cars they had to do themselves, which was what the MGF and the Freelander, you know, they did for like £5.50, and it showed because the quality wasn't good enough. Then BMW came in and were probably too hands off to start with, but then too interfering latterly, and they made some crashing errors, like, you know, launching the Rover 75, the first car that they'd done with a proper budget. And the day it's announced, the Birmingham Motor Show, the boss of BMW stands up and says we might have to close some factories and things aren't good enough. And it was just like, what a PR disaster that was.
Yeah.
And I just hope that Tata will compensate where BAE failed by giving them money, but secondly, they will also be hands-off enough that they won't start the interference process. There's some incredible stories about when BMW owned Rover and things like the
Well, there was a
Mini
real culture
programme.
clash, wasn't there, between essentially the Rover company culture and the BMW company culture.
And there's an incredible story which is very, very geeky, but basically they were developing the new Mini mostly, and it's not said enough that the first generation new Mini was basically done in Britain. It wasn't a BMW car. They assumed control of it, but it was done by people at Longbridge and Gaydon. And they've been progressing that the base model would have drum brakes at the back because it's cheaper to do. But BMW in Munich had decided they'd have discs all round, and had already sort of gone ahead with telling suppliers this, but hadn't bothered to tell the blokes developing the car. And it just apparently came up in conversation one day between a German engineer and a British one, and they were like, well, why are we wasting our time?
And that's just plain stupid.
Yeah,
It's just,
so there was a whole
incompetent,
culture mismatch and lack of communication and stuff like that. Now, I think if Tata just give Jaguar Land Rover, the money they need to do some good new products, which, from what I gather, are coming anyway.
And Jaguar started off well with the XF and NK.
Great. What, 10,000 orders in the bank, or they've got 5,000 orders in the US. You know, that car's already doing good business for them. It's a great car. It's a genuinely good car. I've spent a lot of time in that car, and it is, honestly, you don't have to go, well, it's really good. Well, it's a Jag, so I'm going to be nice about it. It is honestly, a great car. Yeah. It's a funny squeaky noise.
Yeah, that's our pizza turning up outside.
Hey.
I just want to say this really quickly, that I think the Indian culture is a great match with British culture because of our historical links, and I think you could take both Jaguar or Land Rover and slap on a bit of Indian culture and it would fit well. For instance, you could do a Jag and the base model could be the Korma. Yeah, right. The slightly hotter one could be the Madras, and if you want, like, you know, the R series, well, that would be the Thal, wouldn't it? Do you think that makes good sense?
XJ Thal.
Yeah, XJ Thal. Yeah.
I think we're going to send you back to branding scheme.
Okay, sir, enjoy this test drive. You're in the new Jaguar XJ Madras. Okay, sir, put your foot down.
Oh, this is... Whoa! 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 Oh, phew.
Are you okay, sir?
It's a bit hot for me. Oh, what are you doing?
I'm just pouring some yogurt on you.
Oh, can I have the bill, please? Am I the only one who thinks that the wholesale of Land Rover and Jaguar to Tata is a bit like Dr. Evil again? Because what did Tata pay for it? £1 billion.
If I can stop you there, Gareth, it was 1.15. Hey, no, here's the thing.
We get our facts right here on this programme.
1.15 billion pounds. I always get confused with billions, right? With now, they're generally
it's
1,000 million, isn't it? The American standard rather than
because
the old-fashioned British standard was a million, wasn't it?
Yeah, but nobody does. No one does that.
No one does that anymore.
No, I can't count up to that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, your calculator doesn't go that high. Anyway, what's interesting is Jaguar and Land Rover.
Yeah.
Land Rover and Jaguar. 1.15 billion pounds. Now, Dave Richards and his Kuwaiti partners paid 955 million for Aston Martin, which is a tiny company in comparison. So not that much. I know we're dealing in relative things here, but, you know, not that much less. But it seems like
you're getting an awful lot for your 1.15 billion pounds, is what you're saying.
Land Rover, or basically, let's be honest, I think for a lot of people who've been speculating about this deal, you're getting Land Rover, who make money, and you're kind of getting Jaguar thrown in for free because they don't make money at the moment.
But it brings you a lot of prestige because you
exactly. Who wouldn't want Jaguar?
India is absolutely rocking at the moment. Look, they've bought a Formula One team, right? They've now bought two of the best-known motoring brands on the planet. You know, if there's a top 20 or a top 10, Jaguar and Land Rover are probably in there. People would name them, wouldn't they? India's got a great space program. You know, they're building polar launchers and things like this. I know I'm going off topic here, but if Britain were to sort of get back into space in a big way, because we don't have our own launchers, we don't have our own astronauts, a good partner for us is not CNES, the French space program, or ESA, which we're part of in a very small way, but India. So anyway, that's all I wanted to say.
I could go with that. Yeah.
Sorry, I went off on one there, guys. But back to Land Rover and Jaguar.
Meanwhile, back on Earth.
I also heard...
I have no idea what's going on.
Thank you, Townley. I also heard this week that a bunch of people who put deposits down for the F-Type when it was mooted that Ford would build the F-Type for Jaguar, or allow Jaguar to build the F-Type, are still hanging on to their deposits now, because there's every hope now that Tata have got hold of Jaguar that they will build an F-Type.
Who are these people, though? Who are these people who put their money down? Do they sort of trudge into their local Jag showroom every week and go, any sign of it? No, sorry. No. All right, okay. No, do you want your money back? No, you keep it. It's okay, it's fine. Yeah. Well, that must have been like in 1990. They probably put down like £100, because in those days that was a lot of money. And, there have been 2 goes at an F-Type now.
There was a mid-engine one, wasn't there?
Well, before that was a front-engine one, which looked not dissimilar to the XK, the original. A bit of that, bit of XK8 as sort of came out in the mid-90s. And it sort of started
the skate, Richard. That's what they call it in California, the XK8. Oh, you drive a skate? And if you look at it, it looks like a skate. I don't mean a roller skate. I mean one of those great barbed manta ray job things, you know?
Oh, I was behind one. I was behind an XK8 convertible in traffic this morning, and I thought, oh, I like those. They're quite cheap now, I suppose. Well, relatively. Come on, for 10 grand or something.
As these things
I've got 10 grand just lying around.
But if you've got 10 grand to play on a car,
I would buy one! Anyway, the original F-Type big coupe thing, like the XK8 became, but it was supposed to be more of a sports car, and then they just kept putting more stuff on it, and it became four-wheel drive, and it got a twin-turbo straight six, and then suddenly it became so heavy, and that's one of the first things that Jaguar's last new owners, as they were, Ford, came in and went, well, what are you doing? And they went, well, actually, we don't know, we've forgotten now. And they cancelled it.
They went more off topic than I did talking about space there.
Can I completely geek out though and tell you something funny about that F-Type project, the XJ41/42? They cancelled it. They launched an emergency programme to see if they could just reskin the XJS to make a new Jaguar coupe. Then Ford said, all right, go on, I'll tell you, you can have a bit more money, do a proper job on it, make the XK8, which is what happened. But in the meantime, that short notice, quick fix project, just to basically reskin the XJS and possibly supercharge it, Project XX, became the Aston Martin DB7.
Yeah.
Bada bing! I hereby claim my £5.
There's this vague idea that a lot of people have that those two cars are related, but the detail of where they came from is...
it's probably a pressing in common transmission tunnel from
my final thought on the Jaguar Land Rover thing, and I'm really pleased that Tata have done this. I think it's great because, coming back to my point earlier on that India's rocking at the moment, there's a whole number of concept cars which are built, knocked up from bits of steel in India. They have the skill in India to do that. I mean, I know Ratan Tata... by the way, Ratan Tata... isn't that the sound of a snare drum? Ratan Tata says he's going to hands off. He wants the British skills.
He likes massive end at the end of a big power ballad. Ratan Tata.
No one could be further from a power ballad than lovely, soft, gentle Ratan Tata, who lives in a house with his two dogs that he's lived in for 20 years.
He lives in a house?
On his own. He's unmarried.
Does he?
Yeah.
Does he? I didn't know that.
And he gets driven to work every day in a Tata, not a Rolls Royce. One of the richest men in the subcontinent, possibly the richest man in the subcontinent.
Richer than God. The man's hugely rich. No, do you know the thing about
what?
The thing about Ratan Tata, apart from that, which is quite interesting, is the fact that it's something you pointed out to me the other day, and now I can't get it out of my mind.
What?
He looks like Larry Grayson.
He does. Oh, shut that door. Oh, nice door sills. Isn't the quality from Halewood ever so good? It seems like a nice boy. Now, let's see if you could remember what was on the conveyor belt.
PG Tips, British Steel, it was a Land Rover with, Jaguar, there was, Jaguar.
Didn't he do well? Now, you could take all those prizes home with you, but in fact I have done already. Oh, what a Gaydon day. My final point, though, on the whole Jaguar Land Rover thing, is do you think Tata may have bought these two companies at the wrong time? And in an age when everyone's downsizing, and even me, you've heard me say this on the show before, I'm thinking, I've got to get a smaller car because I simply won't be able to afford to drive it in London. That's going to spread everywhere, and Tata may have bought a big, lovely green white elephant. Green as in British racing green.
Wouldn't have thought so, because people are still going to buy cars, and they're going to be built by, cars in the sense of personal transport.
Yeah.
Those things are going to be built by car manufacturers, and those are two big brands that are going to carry and make those things.
Above all, it doesn't matter on the cars they make at the moment, excellent though they are, what they've bought is two brands.
Yeah.
And the names are important. In the future, more than ever, what you want is some kind of posh name or a bargain basement name. You don't want the Marks and Spencer syndrome of being stuck in the middle. It's what scuppered Rover, it's what makes life difficult for Vauxhall and sometimes for Ford as well. You want to be either up there or down at the bottom. Now, actually, what Tata have got is two really, really blue-chip, great names that you could sell a dog poo with them their badges on if it was the right dog poo. They've also got the bargain basement bit covered. You know, Tata might start selling cars under their own name in Europe. They've got a bit of a bridgehead there in terms of they've got their own engineering centre already in the Midlands, but now they can pool their resources, get a bit of staff crossing over between Gaydon. Well, let's face it, they know what they're doing up there. You know, they've engineered some great cars. Considering that the budget of the Jaguar XF, which they won't tell anyone, because I think they're embarrassed that it's not that big, and they have turned out a world-class car on probably what BMW would spend on a rear suspension. They've got names.
They're kind of embarrassed by how efficient their R&D is and how
they can be
efficient
intelligent about this, but use the names. Look what happened to Lexus. Lexus still isn't considered the same sort of footing as Mercedes or BMW or Jaguar in Europe because it's a new boy. It's the nouveau riche of the luxury cars. You need a name. You can do anything with a name. Just treat it right and it'll treat you right.
And by any objective standard, I think we'd agree that Lexus absolutely is up there in terms of how good the vehicles are, in terms of how well they're built.
Fine, but would you
right
want to say, I'll drive a Lexus? No, it's not saying I drive a Jaguar. Something a bit naughty about it. But if, you know, XK's doing well, that XF takes off, they come out with a new F-Type and all these things, they'll get young people into Jags. Jag is a name. People know about Jaguars. It's perfect.
Does this mean, though, there's going to be a bit of cross-pollination between the Tata brand and the Jaguar and Land Rover brand? Are we going to see
only behind the scenes.
I want to see a Tata Nano Vogue or a Tata Nano County.
Well, let's not forget
only
that
happening in Gareth world. I think it's
Tata made that dreadful small car for Rover, so there could be the City Range Rover or something. But let's pray that doesn't happen.
And they did.
All right, lads. Hair brushed and parted. Straighten your ties. Cameras at the ready. The new owners of Jag are going to be here any second. Whoa.
Hello, Jaguar. I am delighted to be here to meet you all.
What the bloody hell? Where's them Russian lesbians what brought us out?
No, Dave. Tata.
Of all the things I've said, this is the stupidest, isn't it?
Gareth Jones gaat corruptie. Da.
The F1 season's got off to, well, initially a tremendous start if you're a Lewis Hamilton fan, and the second race, if you're a Kimi fan, another good start. Yeah,
great start of the season.
Yeah, did we say at the start of the season who we thought was going to be the champion? I think we agreed it's probably going to be Lewis or Kimi, no one else.
Yeah, I mean, I think I said my feeling going into the season was Kimi's going to win the Drivers' Championship, Ferrari are going to win the Constructors' Championship, but they're going to have a really hard time pushed by McLaren all the way, and, you know, anytime they drop the ball, anytime they get anything wrong, anytime they got bad luck, you know, McLaren and specifically Lewis are going to be there to pick up the pieces. And I think what we've seen in the first two races, you know, to me pretty much confirms that, except that McLaren, if anything, are probably a little bit stronger than I thought they would be.
Yeah,
and
agreed.
Pekka Kovalainen is going to give Lewis a much harder time.
Yeah,
that's the interesting bit.
I mean, there are all kinds of interesting things happening further down the field.
It's hokey kegela klegelo lovalun.
Hokey lover.
Yeah, put your left leg in, your right leg in, hokey lekaloven, and no, sorry. Also, BMW are there nipping at the ankles of absolutely everyone, and my 7-year-old son looked at me with a very serious face, which is very unusual for him, the other day and said, Dad, I'm certain Kubica is going to win a race this season. I think he's right.
The oracle has spoken, and
wisdom of children.
Out of the mouths of babes, or what is that?
Yeah, exactly. Unfettered by any bias, he just sees him always in
by
there.
Any Sebastians, he's but he's probably right. I mean, if the opening is there, if Ferrari and McLaren leave the door open, Kubica will grab a win, quite likely.
Now, F1.
Unless it's about haircuts.
Unless Heidfeld
It's not kind to him when he gets the podium, because he takes his helmet
receding
off.
Slightly. That's the thing. You know, it's not the haircut. You know, you're being
How can that be?
Man who's losing his hair.
How can Kubica be bald at 23? Is he?
He's a young chap.
Well,
it's a worry.
Unfortunate, but also it plasters to his head. He needs to go for a bit of a crop sort of thing, because it plasters to it. Basically, he takes his lid off. He looks like a sex pest.
And since Eddie Irvine left the sport, we haven't had many. So
you're on comedy form for this podcast. Well done. Apart from like the sporting aspect of Formula One at the moment, there's a small matter of broadcasting and business. In that, here in the UK, and this will affect a lot of coverage of Formula One around the world, it's no longer in the hands of ITV, who have employed me for 20-something years on and off, and it's gone to BBC, who have also employed me on and off for 20 years, and are currently still employing Richard.
So
10 years
must
on
be
and
good
off for
news.
me, so yes, God bless them.
Am I the only person in the world, and this isn't any bias towards ITV for me, who is slightly disappointed that it's gone to the BBC from the simple fact I love adverts in Formula One.
What?
Well, okay, I mean, you're the only person in this room that thinks that. I can absolutely guarantee it. I mean, am I right?
World who thinks, why?
Why?
Because you need a Wii?
Yeah.
Well, I need a Wii. I mean, I think I've always talked about weeing on this program for some reason, but I just run, turn the volume up and run and leave the door open and risk the wrath of your friends and family who are around.
I can't.
The number of times they come out for a commercial break and you know, somebody's off in the gravel and they said, "Oh, you've just missed this," but
you then see it. But you then see it. If you're watching it live and you get that one chance, you haven't been for a wee, but you've seen the action. I never miss the action when there's an advert. I get it immediately after the break. It doesn't bother me. I like the tension.
I tell you what, next time we go to Le Mans, we're going to put a black bag over your head for about sort of 5 minutes every hour and just kind of give you sensory deprivation, then just whip it off and then fill you in on what happened in the last 5 minutes. How about that?
Thank you, John. All right. So,
we'll do it in a restaurant. You'll just be, I'll have a little bit of this, and then we'll put a bag over your head, and then I'll eat it, and then I'll describe what it was like.
There you go.
So, if we were going to put the A team together for coverage of Formula One on the BBC, we'd keep Brundle, wouldn't we?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Brundle on top of the list.
Would we keep Ted Kravitz?
No.
No, I think Ted's good. I think Ted's good. Would we keep Louise?
He specialises in stating the obvious. They put some tyres on the car. They're tyres. Yes, they're tyres. They're probably red. And then they come back and Brundle will go, "No, look red. Those are black tyres." It's just I find him slightly feckless.
So
Louise, I quite like.
Louise,
I was going to say,
angled your original. Right?
I think she does a very good job with grabbing the drivers. You know, when she
that can't be
getting
easy.
Those in-race interviews.
They seem to like her.
Yeah.
They'll talk to her, which is good. You need that.
But I think there's no chance that she'll make the transition over to the BBC. I think I think they will hang on to Brundle because where else are you going to get somebody with that depth of experience, knowledge about the sport, former driver, able to talk about what is going on track with real first-hand experience, who can actually talk fluently. They would be mad to get rid of Brundle because there's no. They're never going to get him to replace him.
The man's a legend.
Yeah.
But if you want to,
but everyone else is but everyone else is expendable because they're too ITV branded, and whereas Brundle above everything is he's F1 branded.
Tell you what though, guys, right? You could, and I have a feeling this could happen, replace Louise with Tamara Eccleston.
I would have no problem with that suggestion.
Well, the girl's an idiot. I mean, what I was going to try and say something positive, but no, the girl's an idiot. And also, how incisive is her analysis going to be when Daddy's
analysis?
Around?
Sorry.
She is.
Can't say analysis without saying.
I'm sure she's a perfectly reasonable person, but in my opinion, she's too posh for broadcasting.
The other person I would quite like to see sticking
Lawrence
around.
Llewellyn Bowen. I mean,
Lawrence Llewellyn Bowen. He's too posh for broadcasting, and he's Welsh. How dare he be posh? Anyway, sorry. That's. I'm sorry. Call me a communist.
Yes. What's his name? Detective Inspector Mark Blundell. I was proceeding in a westerly direction down a pit straight. What he done there is gone put the car on pole. I quite like it. I mean, I know he mangles the English language.
It's just one of those things. What you got to do?
Again, he was actually quite a tasty driver, and fair play to him. I quite like that extra insight. He's got credibility in that respect, even if he can barely speak. So keep him, keep Brundle, keep the ex-drivers basically, get rid of the other lot, including that man that I don't like very much, who we won't talk about. Oh yeah, so I'm going to say one more thing as well, just that you may have, if you live in the UK, seen a story in the Times newspaper last week that Richard Hammond was going to front up the BBC's F1 coverage, and that maybe the rest of the Top Gear guys would get involved with their zany antics. Complete rubbish! Utter fabrication! The newspapers lie. It's not true.
And Richard, I don't know if you're aware of this, but Richard works on Top Gear, so I mean that's not an official statement, but it's the truth, isn't it?
Yeah, I spoke to Richard today. Clang. Crazy late Richard. But no, I did. I spoke to Hammond today because I work with him. He's a bloke I work with, and it's absolute nonsense. It's he doesn't really like F1 that much. He's a biker at heart. He can watch bike racing. He doesn't like motor racing. If he did it, it would be a silly move. And there's no question. We're making Top Gear. We're busy doing that. We can't go gallivanting around the world.
All right,
nonsense.
We'll leave it at that. But I'll leave you with one final thought. Far be it for me to use my own podcast to promote my own career, but if the BBC were looking for someone who's capable of doing interviews in the pit lane and has done them for A1 Grand Prix and knows more about Formula 1 than he deserves to know, there's a bloke called Gareth Jones who I believe is available at the moment.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Zog.
Oh,
We're all up for it.
Actually, you should give Gareth a job.
Thank you.
You really should.
Say goodbye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye. And we'll leave you with our first rave tune, I think. Dancing to the sound of engines.
Dancing to the sound of engines. Dance long, dance fast, dance far. The sound of engines. We're moving to the tune of a car.
There's a beat that I rave about, softer than a buttercup, faster than a cloud. It's a scream that makes my body move. Running around the racetrack, sitting in the groove. Isn't on the dance floor, adrenaline and roar. Comes from a race car and I want more.
We're grooving in the pit lane. Throttle. Listen to the engine scream. Drop the clutch. Watch my body pump. Too much.
Oh, rhythm tunes, revs, and the beat that I dance to runs at 80,000 beats per minute. RPM, BPM, BPM, RPM, BPM. It's all the same to me. We're flat out on the straight, sounding great, moving quickly, movement, light and sound, feel the ground, feel time bending, so fast it feels so slow. Watch me go, listen to me, watch me begin. We're dancing to the sound of engine. Subscribe to the show for free at iTunes or GarethJones.tv. Email us at onspeed@GarethJones.tv. Gareth Jones on Speed was made by Whizbang.